All right, today we're going to keep working on the inquiry project and we're going to move into a phase called explore. Okay, before we do, however, I want to review some things that we talked about yesterday and make some recommendations. So on the website yesterday, we used this immerse tab. And what we wanted to do yesterday was to build a little bit of background knowledge, to connect to Under the Feet of Jesus, to discover some interesting ideas, but just sort of on the surface, okay? And we were hoping that you would have read that Ralph Nader article, which is right here, that you would have completed the inquiry journal prompt, which looks like this. And what I had said live was that you should answer either all of these questions in short form or answer a couple of them in more developed form. Now, the other thing we were hoping you might get to, but we realized that you probably wouldn't have enough time during the block, was to start a Noodle Tools project. If you don't know how to start a Noodle Tools project, the directions are right here. It's a really brief screencast made by Miss Hanson, and it's awesome. This is what's going to help you keep track of your sources. Okay, so if you haven't done any of that, try to wrap that stuff up first, and then come back to the web page and click on the Explore button. When you do, you're going to see a lot more on this page than was on the other page. The Immerse tab only had one hyperlink on it to the article, but this page has a number of different places you can go. On the left, you'll see some advice about what to be thinking as you, these are some of the tools that we'll be using. Primarily, yesterday we used this one. Today we'll use this one. Stop and jot is an optional thing that I'm going to show you briefly, but we're going to essentially recommend that you not use. Later we'll use this inquiry circle, so this is sort of a preview of the tools. These are things that you might ask as you study information that you research. And then we've got some book titles, we've got some video titles, we've got some websites, we got some personal stories, so lots of different options on this page. And your job today is to really just sort of dip into a whole bunch of things, just kind of sample things that are on the shelves, just to see if they're worth coming back to later. So don't dig in too deeply to anything, just sample things and ask yourself, might this be useful later? And we're going to ask that you fill out your inquiry log today, which is part of the inquiry journal. So if you go back to the inquiry journal from yesterday and you scroll down past the optional stop and jot, which is a place where you could take notes, but it's going to make more sense to use that in the next phase, not this phase. In this phase, it makes more sense, we feel, to use this log. And right now, we're in week 1. So for whatever sources you check out today, put the source citation in the box. Just copy and paste it. Should be pretty easy. And if it looks like something you might want to use later, then put an exclamation point. It just means maybe. If you actually took a swim in it for a little while, 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you got a little bit deeper, feel free to put an X. These symbols are less important than that you identify the citation, and then if anything seemed useful to you, you'd put it in this box. And when we say useful, we just mean it piqued your interest. It made you curious. It gave you an avenue down which you might travel later. You can ignore this column. We're going to use this column next week as we come back to this list and dig a little bit deeper and make some decisions about whether or not to use that particular source. Last thing, these databases are really awesome. If I click on this one, for example, it's called Opposing Viewpoints. Gail has put together sort of two sides to a story, okay? But the first thing you have to do is choose what you want to look for. So if you want to look for children of undocumented immigrants, you choose this topic, and all of a sudden you're going to be presented with a variety of things you could read. You could read all of this stuff about that particular topic. So your search key, your search words are really key. If you're not finding what you're looking for, try changing the words. Try reducing the words, try searching more broadly or more narrowly. And this database is not put together for us in connection with Under the Feet of Jesus, but Under the Feet of Jesus and the Ralph Nader article have made us think about certain things that now we might pursue. Okay, so you're not necessarily going to see anything specifically about our unit. So that's the deal today. Come to the Explore tab, do some exploring, which really is sampling of a whole bunch of things out there in the world, and then document those things on your inquiry log. We mentioned this, I think, yesterday, but the trajectory of our research phases put Explore kind of farther down. That's because today you might feel a little bit ungrounded. You might feel a little bit confused because you're not quite sure where you are. You're trying to acclimate yourself. And that's okay. That's actually good. That's normal. That's what happens when we start to explore. We get out of our comfort zone before we start leaning toward identifying a topic that we want to pursue. So this went on a little bit longer than I hoped it would, but I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you soon.